Decided to start our live stream a little early this week because I wanted to see if more people would come on for the live stream and kind of wanted to see where it would end up. So let's see here. So this week, I've got a couple different things that we're going to be talking about. This week, I've had a couple of different questions come in, which I wanted to answer. I'm going to go over what I'm playing this week. I don't really have anything going, but with the 4th of July coming, there are a couple of conventions that are this weekend. But want to go over a few minor things. So, games I'm playing this week. So, like I said last week, Vampire the Requiem. Vampire the Requiem, I play on the second Saturday of every month. This weekend, or not this weekend, but the following weekend, which will be next Saturday, actually, I will be having my monthly run of Vampire the Requiem. Like I said last time, Vampire the Requiem is a Gothic-themed tabletop RPG game. It's also a LARP, which it makes for a really good time. So we have a group of about 30 people, have a fun time with it. People play as different political organizations in the group. It's kind of like Game of Thrones meets vampires. It's very political, backstabbery. Everybody's trying to get ahead in their own way. So it is something that I've been playing for many years, and I always blast with it. So I am playing that this week. And as a surprise to my buddy Steven, who, if you'll recall, was playing with me on my live playthrough of Dust and on the first live stream that I went through, I picked up a surprise for him, which I'm going to reveal here. So the next time we sit down and play Dust, I'm going to be pulling out the SSU forces because I picked up the Heavy Weapon Team Pack. So this comes with a Tesla cannon and comes with a mortar unit. So, Steven, if you're watching this, I'm coming for you. So we'll see how this goes, especially with mortar units, because apparently they can hit anywhere on the table and they use multiple different types of ammo. So this ought to be a really good game, which I will try to live stream that game because that ought to get really interesting. So I don't know what Steven's going to do, but I'm coming out with the heavy weapons team and we're going to see what happens. So I am looking forward to doing that. Let's see. No questions as of yet, but I did want to go over a question that did come up. Jonathan posted on my page probably a couple of days ago asking me a question about what are my top 3 board games. Well, that's a really hard question. I don't really have a top 3. I have board games that I enjoy. I have board games that I will consistently play, especially with groups. If someone want to introduce people to a board game, I have a list. So technically, I have 6 board games that I'm going to show you, and I'm going to go over each one that I enjoy, and I enjoy them for different reasons. But I don't really have a top list. I know a lot of different developers or different game channels. They have a top 10 list, or they have a top 100 list, or something along those lines. I enjoy games for game's sake. There are good games that I enjoy. There are bad games that I enjoy. And I enjoy them for different reasons. A good example of a game that I really enjoy, which I'll give you one on my list, is I enjoy the game of Guillotine. Guillotine is a great game. It's a card manipulation game where you have a line of French nobles during the French Revolution, and you are a rival guillotine operator compared with the other players. And so there's one line of people. So you have to go through and try to get the noble that's worth more points than the other points. So you have, like, for example, you have King Louis or Marie Antoinette. They're both worth 5 points. Or You have like a tax collector, which is worth 2, or unfortunately, the little piss boy, who is worth 1 point. But the downside of that, there are also cards in here that are worth negative points, like martyrs are worth -1. You can inadvertently kill the hero of the people, who is worth -3 points. But there are ways around that. So I always have a really good time with this game. I take it to conventions. I play it with family members. I play it with new gamers. It's a really easy game to pick up. I always have a good time with it. It's consistently in and out of print because I think they're on their 3rd or 4th print run now on it. It goes out of print for a while, then it'll come back. This is the original edition printing. But like I said, it comes and goes. It's a decent game. I always have a good time with it. Like I said, people have a top 10 list or top 5 list. I really honestly don't. So this video will consist of 6 games that I always enjoy playing. Guillotine is one of them. Another game I always take to gaming conventions, which have expansions, which I always go over and have a conversation with whoever I'm playing with of what expansions do you want to play with? Do you want a bigger game? Do you want a more intricate game? How do you want to play this? And that game is Zombies. Zombies is a game that I always enjoy playing. It's a game that can get really hard really fast. If you haven't played Zombies before, first off, I invite you to check out the video I have on this game on the channel, which I also have a video on Guillotine. Eventually, I'll get to all of these games on the channel, but I have done videos on this. Zombies is a game that it starts off really easy, but you have to build the city as you go, and your win options are you can kill 25 zombies, or you can make it to the helipad. Unless you're playing with a couple of the different expansions, then there are different ways to stop this. Like if you play with Zombies 4, you have to collect scrolls so that way you can end the zombie curse with your magic. Yeah, like I said, there's different ways of playing this game. Zombies, I always have a good time with it. The cards are very brutal. So it's a game that I do not recommend for kids just because of the cards. I mean, there's chainsaws and brutalness on this game. So the art on this game can get really graphically adult. So at least something along those, I wouldn't recommend it for kids. I never recommend this game for kids. It's a great game if the cards were not a factor. You need the cards to play it, but as the game goes, I always have a fantastic time with this game. I enjoy Zombies. I've taken it to conventions. I've inflicted it, and I say inflicted it on new people that haven't gamed before, and they didn't know what this was. They had a great time playing it. So I run this at conventions every year. I go to DunderCon game convention, which is on President's Day weekend every year, and I always run Zombies. And Zombies, you will have a great time with it. Especially if you have a large table where you can expand into, you will pick up a crowd of people very fast with this game. They're up to their, I think, 3rd edition on this game now, where they've kind of changed a little bit of the art on the city tiles and a few things like that. This is the original edition. I've had people comment on the condition of the box because, I mean, this box has been around for years. I've hauled it around through college in a backpack. I mean, this box has gotten abused, but very well taken a look at. I recommend this game all day long. I will pick up Zombies anytime. It's a game that it's on my list of good games, and I always have a good time. If you looked at the picture for the start of this channel, you will see a guy running from a fireball. So, of course, a game that I have to put on that list is Fireball Island. Fireball Island is a game that I've played for years. This particular game, as you'll notice, the size on this game is massive because it's a full board. This game I got for Christmas one year from my parents back in the 80s. And due to the size of the box, it always ended up in the back of a closet. So it didn't get pulled out a lot, hence why it's still here. But this game, I will pull out anytime, anywhere. People ask if I like the original or the newer version. I like the original, this one here, over the newer one. The newer one has more expansions and things you can do with it, but this is a very streamlined, basic game. You just have to get to the gem, and then you have to cutthroat, get away from the other players that are trying to steal the gem from you. So it's kind of like two games in one. You have to get to the top of the mountain, so capture the flag, and then you have to keep the flag and get to the boat dock and get away from all the other players. So it gets really cutthroat really fast. I always have a good time with this game. I enjoy it. I bring this game out for new people, non gamers. It's always an interesting time, especially when you have someone that hasn't gamed with a bigger game like this before. Just watch their eyes light up when you have so many pieces on the board, and it's very simplistic. It's gravity, marbles, and cards, and with a d6 dice. So it's very easy to deal with. I always have a good time with this game. Like I've said for years, I always feel sorry for that guy. Rock and kind of looking back to see a giant fireball coming at you. In this game, I've always had a good time with this game. It has a special place in my heart. So, a lot of people don't like this one. They like the newer version that came out, and great. But I think the original one is a little bit better in my opinion. I'm glad they came out with a new copy of it because it's a heck of a game. But that being said, the original one has a better place in my heart, and I enjoy it. But like I said, the game itself is very easy to pick up. I always have a good time with it, especially when I bring it out to conventions. I have so many people walk by. They may not sit down and look at want to play the game right away, but I bring up a lot of memories or people having flashbacks of this game. I've run this at conventions multiple times, so it's always an interesting time to see. Another game that I have a good time with, is a game that I always, if I have a group of people, especially my normal gaming friends, I'll pull out the Fury of Dracula. The Fury of Dracula is not a new concept game. It's kind of like Scotland Yard, except a little more brutal. You can leave presents for vampires or bad things for the other players. The other players work together and try to find Dracula, who's not on the board. So they have to figure out where he is. So he's kind of running amok through Europe. But like I said, it's kind of like Scotland Yard, which with a lot more rules and some more pieces to it. So it's a more complex version of it. If you haven't played Scotland Yard before, I would go check it out. I have a video of it on my channel. Eventually, this will be on there as well. But this is kind of an advanced version of Scotland Yard. I think they're up to their third printing now on this, a third edition. This here is the second edition from Fantasy Flight. It's a decent game. I always had a good time with it. Dracula can do some really dirty things in this game. The other players can have their own special powers. They can go deal with Dracula. But like I said, I always have a good time with this game. I have friends that always want me to pull it out. It just depends if I have enough people. But it's always a good time. Another game that I always enjoy playing, especially if I have a larger group of people, which has a ridiculous amount of expansions, which I have most of the expansions. But I think there's like 16 expansions to this game currently, which is out of print. Is a game that I always have a blast with, which is Supremacy. Supremacy is a game, it's like Risk on crack. That's the best way I can describe it. It has nuclear weapons. It has, depending on what expansions you use, you can have Europe, Africa. You can play. It has a number of expansions. You can have battle tanks, boomer submarines, neutron bombs, killer satellites. You can get into germ warfare. It has the options in there so that way you can play with third world powers, pirates, third world warlords. There's acts of nature where you can have hurricanes hit places. It has a ridiculous amount of expansions. You can get into colonial militias and merchant marines. Supremacy is one of those crazy board games. The rulebook, if you play with the entire rulebook, the rulebook is probably 200 to 300 pages. if you play with everything, because they did come out with the entire rule guide for this game many years ago. Supremacy came out in the early mid 80s. It went into the mid 90s and then it kind of stopped. There are a newer version of this game where you can. It doesn't have as much of the craziness to it, but Supremacy itself is always a good time. I always had a good time with it. I take it to conventions, where in some of those conventions I've had games where people have had done military deals like, hey, you come defend me, the stock market's really high, I can make you a ton of money so you can get more resources and you can buy more military forces. I've teamed up with other continents, so airdropping guys from Africa into Australia or into South America. You can do a lot with this game, but it's like a good 8 hours sit down. So Supremacy is one of those really long-term games if you have a really good group of people. You can use nuclear weapons to surgically strike people, but the problem with that game is if you drop too many nuclear weapons in it, then everybody loses because the world goes into nuclear winter. So you have to be really careful of when you do stuff. So it's always a good time. The sixth game on my list is a game that always has a special place in my heart. I grew up playing this game. I played this game a lot with my dad. There is a link on here for a video that I did on this game when I first started, which is Stratego. Stratego is a game that I've played for 35 years, 40 years, somewhere in there. It's a game that I played with my dad many times. I've played this game on vacations. I've taken this game with me for family events. I've played this game a lot, especially with my dad. I always had a good time with it. I have a lot of fond memories with my dad on Stratego, especially like this edition here. It's a game that I will probably be playing forever. And especially I try to teach as many new people about Stratego as possible. Not a lot of people know about Stratego. One of the nice thing about it is the game has been picked up by Play Monster Games, so it is current back in print. They did come out with a couple other editions on this, which I will be going over at some point soon, which includes like Stratego Conquest, which is a 4-player version of Stratego. You can play Stratego Waterloo, which is a heavier version of Stratego, where it's still 2 players, but it's kind of the British versus the French in the Battle of Waterloo. But then the Prussians can come in and start buffing up the British military forces. So you get more forces at the end of the game. So you want to go through and do as much as fast as possible. Those are my top. Well, I wouldn't say top 6. Those are my kind of 6 of my favorite games that I play. Excuse me. I always play them whenever I can. Conventions, new people, things like that. So I always have a good time with them. But like I said, I don't really have a top game list. It's not something that I really want to put together because, like I said, I enjoy games for game's sake. I go to gaming conventions. I'll sit down and play some weird game that I've never heard of before and try it out. Sometimes I have a really great time. Other times, I mean, it's like pulling teeth and like, why am I playing this? But gaming is, in my opinion, a experience that you have that is always new. There's something always new coming out, something you may never heard of. I've got games like on my channel. I have the Game of Dracula, which is a Waddington's game from England that never got released in the United States, and I've played that, and it's an amazing game that no one has ever heard of, especially here in California. There are games that are local to the area, but there are games that you find that are always new. So there's always a new adventure to be had around every corner, as it were. So I like older games, especially because older games have there's a lot more variety out there, and a lot of them aren't popular. Like especially they didn't get reprinted many times. So if you come across say like an older game that you may or may not know of, you can have a really good time with it. Um, so thrift storing is always an option. I go to the flea market and take a look around. I mean, I found stuff at flea markets, garage sales, estate sales where someone's just cleaning out their grandmother's attic. Uh, you always have a good time. Another good example on there is the railroad game, which I have is on my here on my channel. Um, that's a game that came out of an estate that I purchased off of eBay. That is a game that I'm surprised it survived because it has a very um, depression feel to it. It's the board's built into the box. It has wood pieces. It has a cardboard spinner. It doesn't really have when you pick up that box, it feels like it's empty. So it's a game that I don't think survived. The cardboard's not even super good quality. So it's a game that was produced for the time, which is kind of like a time capsule of the time it came out of, which tells you a lot about um, the game industry now. I mean, games in that period of time, they were cheaply made. They didn't have a lot of pieces to them. They didn't put money into dice because dice were expensive. There's no resin. It's all wood and cardboard. Um, so they were made, mass produced as best as possible for that. And games now that have, like 300 pieces, plastic, resin dice, games that have, uh, you go to a game store to buy them, they're like $150. So the game industry has come a long way on that aspect. But like I said, back to older games, there are a lot of things that have just been lost, forgotten. Game companies went out of business, and who knows where their patents or licensing for some of this stuff is. And you can come across some really interesting games. Um, Gaming conventions are always a good option for that because you can find a game convention where you'll have someone that'll play new stuff, you'll have someone that'll dig out old stuff. You never ever know what's coming out. But like I said, these are 6 games that I enjoy. I pull them out when new people or game group want to play something like that. I have many other games that I favorites. I do have more than just the 6, but these are 6 that I wanted to bring up, at least to answer Jonathan's question about what are your top games. So I hope this answers your question. Um, Still, no other questions currently on the feed. Kind of the last thing I want to bring up is uh, I have Skirmish coming out this weekend for the 4th of July. If you don't know what Skirmish is, I would highly check out the video. It's one of the American Heritage games that came out in the 70s. There are 4 American Heritage games. There's Skirmish, Broadsides, Battle Cry. Uh, there is Dogfight. There's actually, I think there's 5. There's one more I'm forgetting. It's like On the Beach or something like that. I'll have to double check. But yeah, so I'm doing Skirmish, which is coming out this weekend. With 4th of July being on Monday, uh, Skirmish, I think, is a very poignant game for it. One side plays as the Colonials, the other side plays as the British forces. So basically, you're going through and fighting in the American Revolution. Like I said, Skirmish is a great game. It is coming out this weekend. It's a game that I wish you could do more with it with more than 2 players, but it is a 2-player game. So um, for what it is a pretty decent game. Um, that is coming out um, this weekend. Next weekend, I am planning on dropping out a card game. I'm still kind of figuring out which one I'm dropping out next weekend. So probably going to be a Flux game, probably going through like Martian Flux or something like that. But I'll take a look and see what's completed. Um, I am still taking game requests because we are putting a list together of I'm doing a month long of just requests, which I'm trying to get all that put together. There are a few games that have been requested that I still don't have, so I'm in the process of trying to find those games. But I do have a pile of the games that are on that list for requests. So either I had them already or I went out and got them. But another one, like one of the ones I went out and got was a copy of Parker Brothers Survive. I didn't have a copy of that, so I went and picked that up. But that is coming August, September, so I will be doing live feeds on again in every weekend, and I am going to be dropping out the requests August, September. Some of the other things that are going on this week, like I said, 4th of July is on Monday, so I'm kind of scaling back a little bit due to the holiday, so that way I can enjoy it. But I do plan on having some wonderful game playthroughs of Stratego, maybe some Guillotine, and hopefully some Fireball Island this week. We'll see if I do have a group together to play those. So have a few more minutes here, so unless anybody has any questions, I'll probably be ending this video at 30 minutes. But like I said, I am looking forward to putting some putting some projects together that that are coming in August, September. Like I said, some of the requests, and I am looking forward to a couple of game conventions that are coming later this year. I will go over the dates on those conventions probably in the next month or so because that's when their dates come out. But I'm looking forward to Pacific Con in San Francisco. Conquest Sacramento is coming back around sometime, I think October. So we'll see how that goes. I'm interested in trying to attend GobbleCon, which GobbleCon is around Thanksgiving. And then, of course, I'm looking forward to DundraCon again. DundraCon is on President's Day weekend every year. It's currently at the Santa Clara Marriott Hotel in Santa Clara, California, by San Jose. It's down the street from the San Jose airport, so it's a really easy drive to get in. So it is a nice convention. Let's see. Oh, you did get a question here. Have you played Battle Ball board game? No, I haven't played Battle Ball. It's a game that I have heard of it, but I actually have not played it. I am looking forward to giving it a try at some point, but it's a game that that I don't really have a lot of experience with. But it is on my list of stuff to try. Hope that answers your question. So, a couple of the other projects that I do have coming this year are I am planning on doing some more Avalon Hill games, which I'm trying to put together some videos on that. I'm trying to scale some stuff down on those because some of those Avalon Hill board games are massive rule books. I'm like 16, 18 pages. So I'm trying to scale them down. So I've done a couple of Avalon Hill game videos, which those videos went on for about 20 minutes a piece because there are a ton of rules, and those are just going over the basic rules. I'm not digging into the advanced rules on that, which the advanced rule games do crazy things. They go into additional range tables and all kinds of stuff like that. But I am looking forward to putting together a video on Wizard's Quest. I do have a video on Bismarck Second Edition, which is a request coming this year. And I also am planning on dropping out Luftwaffe, which is a aerial combat game over Germany from 43 to 45. Again, all from Avalon Hill. I'm looking forward to having those drop out this year. I got Risk coming, which Risk has been a big request that I've had for a long time, which I am planning on dropping that out during the request months of August and September. So Risk is coming. Like I said, there's so much involved with it. I have to go through and try to trim some of that stuff down because I don't want some of those videos to be like 30, 40 minutes long. So I don't see any other questions currently, but again, if you always have a question, please drop it into the comments on one of these. I will answer the questions during the live streams every week. If you do put a question in about a specific board game, I will try to answer that on that thread. To if there's a rules question or something like that, I will try to answer it as best as I can. But a question attached to one of the streams, like Jonathan uh, from Lord Have Mercy asked me a couple days ago about my top 3 board games. Like I said, I don't have a top 3. I don't really have a top 10 because I enjoy board games for board game's sake. The sits games I put on the list here are sits games I enjoy, and I always enjoy playing them. But I don't really have a top list because I enjoy games for game's sake, and the social interaction I get from having the fun playing those games with other people. So I hope that answers your question, Jonathan. Uh, I always have a good time making these. I'm going to try to start scheduling these videos from noon every Saturday going forward. I think it's a little bit better time. It's not too late in the day, but it's not too early. So that way I can try to schedule these around at normal time. So I'm going to do a live stream every at noon at 12 noon every Sunday going forward, and hopefully, if you do want to check it out, I invite you to come by, and I will answer any questions you might have. And yeah, as always, have a great gaming day.